Boom. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm like 2 minutes or 3 minutes late. And I keep telling you guys, this is not stuff that I just plan to do. I mean, I don't just wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm gonna announce that I'm gonna be live, but here's the thing. I'm going to be deliberately late. I never do that. It has never crossed my mind to do that. So sometimes you just have to roll with the punches, honey. Roll with the punches. You got to do what you got to do, okay? And hey, the important thing is that I'm here, okay? It's better late than never. I know that infuriates some of you, but that's just the way it is. Come in. I'm live. So, guys, do me a favor. Could you just jump on here real quick? Good afternoon. There's a bit of reflection in my glasses from the lights, but that's okay. We're going to get through this one way or another. Do me a favor, guys. Please jump on. I know it's about lunchtime, 15 minutes to lunch. As soon as I'm done with this live, I'm going to get in my car, just drive off somewhere and grab some nice traditional food. How about that? Jump on here, guys, and just share this live. I'm going to read that comment here in a moment. And let's see if we can get the show on the road and see if we can get people. So what it is, share this live with people you think would be interested in what we're talking about. And I must tell you, one of the most annoying comments I read on Facebook is when people say, but just keep quiet. Why are you talking? Why not? Why can't we speak about things that are trending? That's the job of a political commentator, which is what I am in a sense. Okay, guys, I keep telling you, you don't know what it's like being me out here for you. It is an up and down, pride swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about. Okay, you must understand that our job as social media personalities is that we talk about things that are trending. I only talk about things that I'm interested in. You will never hear me talking about astrophysicists. You will never hear me talking about quantum physics. You will never hear me talking about the cosmos. You know why? Because that's a level above my pay grade, number one. Number two, I'm not interested in that. I'm not. What I'm interested in is if you're on Facebook. That's terrible. I shouldn't even joke like that. That's not true. I'm not interested in kerfuffle. I'm interested in topics that sort of get the tongues wagging and the mouths flapping. I remember Flip Wilson once said, loose lips sink ships, and the looser the lips are, the faster the ship sink. Bubbler, bubbler, bubbler. If you're not my age, you have no idea who Flip Wilson was. Okay. All right. Let's get into it real quick. Guys, I was reading on the tube. When I was a kid, we used to say tube or wireless. We say on the wireless. When I was a teenager, wireless meant the radio. Some of you kids don't realize that wireless is not a term that was recently concocted. That word wireless has been around since I was a little boy. When I was a kid, wireless meant the radio. Oh, I heard it on the wireless. What that meant was that you heard it on the radio. So I heard on the wireless that Rafael Nagachinda couldn't take fresh plea in his sedition case. You know why? Because his lawyer, Makebi Zulu, was undisposed. Can you believe this? Undisposed. Guys, the word undisposed is just a fancy way of saying he didn't show up. The word undisposed simply means Makebi Zulu didn't go to court to represent his client. And this is not the first time that Makebi Zulu has done this. I mean, you guys consider him, some of you think that he's a super lawyer. Well, the truth is, he's just a guy. He's just a guy that happens to be learned. But he's got kinks, okay? He's not super lawyer man. He's got kinks. I'll never forget, I went to, remember the case, remember I had posted on social media that Tarsila Lungu was in the process of attaining, remember the case where, and I have to word this correctly because I don't want to land myself in problems again. The news was that Tarsila Lungu was planning to buy a bank and its assets. I know the bank and I know the assets. Okay, but here's the thing. When we announced that, Tarsila Lungu sued me along using Makebi Zulu as her lawyers. We were in court for 2 years. 2 years. And I'll never forget the day that the officer came to arrest me. You know, and guys, again, all of this falls under the cyber laws, okay? There are laws, there's a framework out there that protects you and I, that protects every citizen from things like slander and defamation and things like that. And so she felt aggrieved, Tarsila Lungu felt aggrieved, and so she sued me, but she had me arrested. Makebi Zulu had me arrested, and the arresting officer that came to pick me up, in fact, I've told this story before, he phones me up and he says, Mr. Mwewa, where are you? This is the officer calling me. I said, well, I'm not in the office. I'm about to get to the office. This was in the afternoon. He says, Mr. Mwewa, can I see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? It has to be at 8. I said, is there a problem, officer? He says, I'll explain when I come there, Mr. Mwewa. But I can't come and see you now. It has to be tomorrow morning. But you must ensure that I see you at 8. I should not see you at 8:30, 8:45. It must be 8 o'clock. And you know, when a police officer says that to you, you know, you become a bit discombobulated. You become a bit concerned. And I asked him again, I said, officer, is everything, are we cool? Is there a problem? Mr. Mwewa, I'll just be at your office at 8. All right, fine. So, you know, it was this very office that I'm sitting in right now. What you're looking at now, I have 2 offices. I have a smaller little cubicle office, which is this one. And then I've got a slightly larger one, which is down the hall. I usually use this one for my broadcast, the way I'm doing this, but the other slightly bigger one I use for my meetings and the business that we run here at Simoson. And so the officer, usually I get to the office about 7:30, 7:45 latest. So the very next day, I got to the office 7:30 and I am racked out of my mind. I'm thinking, what have I done? 8 o'clock on the dot, the officer shows up at my door. He walks in, we exchange a few pleasantries, we talk about family and stuff. And then finally, he pulls out a document and says, I'm actually here to arrest you. I said, arrest me? For what? He says, well, Tarsila Lungu she sued you. And it's criminal defamation. Don't ask me why, I'm just here to do my job. But the reason I came to pick you up at 8, they wanted me to pick you up yesterday at 3 o'clock so that you spend the night in jail. The reason I wanted to pick you up at 8 o'clock is for you to get your lawyer stuff. Lawyer up, call your lawyers, make sure that they get you out before 5 o'clock, because my instruction is if I take you to the courthouse has a holding cell there. I can't keep you at the courthouse after 5 o'clock. I have to take you to Kamwala. They want me to take you to Kamwala. And guess who's waiting for you at Kamwala? I said, who? He says, Innocent Kalimanshi. They're waiting for you. So what you need to do is, right now, I need to take you down to the courthouse, put you in a cell, But on the way there, call your lawyer so that you can get out before 5 o'clock. Because after 5 o'clock, legally, I can't keep you, I can't hold you at the courthouse cell. You have to go to remand, to the remand holding, Kamwala. And there, innocent Kalimanshi is waiting for you. And boy, tell you what, they're sharpening their knives. You know, they're doing press-ups just for you. Okay, they're doing one of these. They can't wait to bob and weave and teach you a lesson. I said, all right. So I start calling my lawyer. You know, I get to the cell, you know. The officer gives me my phone and it says, Mr. Mwewa, whatever you do, please don't go live in this cell. If you go live in here, I will lose. As sure as I'm sitting here talking to you, I will lose my job this very moment. Do not go live in that cell. So I grab my phone, you know. I'm talking to my lawyer. I'm trying to get it done. I'm telling my wife. She is furious. And, you know, my lawyer does his thing. Boom! 12 o'clock, I'm out. Now, we start going to court. And Makebi Zulu is someone I know, okay? And interestingly enough, if you really must know, him and I go to the same church. Can you believe that? We're church mates, but we're always at each other's necks. So anyway, you know, we start going to court for the thing, and every so often I would run into Makebi Zulu. Not only do we go to the same church, we go to the same barber shop. I remember not too long ago, I was sitting in a barber's chair getting my hair cut. Makebi walks in, you know, he says, hey, how you doing, man? And he does his hair. When he leaves, walks out, my barber says to me, Makebi slipped $100 in my hand and said that he's paid for your haircut. And I said, really? He said, yeah. So very quickly, I jumped out of my chair. I ran out to the car park and I said, Makebi, hey, listen, man, thank you for the haircut. Thank you for the haircut. Sorry, I have to pause for a minute. Pause for a minute because I got a phone call. So my point in saying all of that, is that, you know, I know Makebi on a very personal level, but, you know, I don't want you to think that he's a super lawyer. He's just he's good at what he does, okay? And so we started going to court 2 years, and every so often when I would meet Makebi, he would always say to me, Mwewa, why don't you just apologize? Just apologize for what you said, and this whole thing goes away. One apology, everything goes away. I said, Makebi, are you trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Are you trying to pull the rug from up under my feet? I know you and your kind, you lawyers, boy. You're trying to get me to apologize so that you can slap me with damages. I said, I'm not doing it. So we went to court for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, one day, I've told this story 1,000 times. I'll tell it 1,000 more. One day, we're at the courthouse. I'm sitting in the courtroom, and I'm exhausted because, guys, you must understand, going to court is one of the most exhausting things that you can ever do. Yes, it's self-imposed. Yes, we put ourselves in this position. You know, these are self-inflicted wounds. This is the life we've chosen. When you comment, you go to court. When someone is aggrieved and they have a lawyer and deep pockets. Anyway, so I'm sitting in the courthouse and Makebi Zulu is sitting there with Tassila Longo. And I'm waiting for my case to be called. All of a sudden, Tassila and Makebi, they just get up and they walk out of the courtroom. And my case is called and the magistrate walks in. I go to the dock. They call the case and Makebi's not there. He's undisposed. Remember, the word undisposed simply means they're not available. They didn't show up. They're not prepared. They're not there. So the judge says, look, we've been at this case for 2 years. Where the heck is the complainant? The marshal, the court marshal says, well, they were here a moment ago. They're not here anymore. The judge says, you find out where they are, because if they're not here in 10 minutes, guess what? I'm going to throw this case out. There's the marshal. He's fumbling. He's calling. He's doing everything. He doesn't know his left from his right. He's lost. Finally, the judge says, listen, man, I'm going to dismiss this case. So he says, hand me that file. So the marshal hands him sort of, fearfully hands him the file. The magistrate grabs the file from the magistrate's hand, and he, boy, tell you what, that magistrate starts writing stuff. He starts writing. 2 minutes, he looks up at me and says, Mr. Mwewa, I've dismissed this case on the count that the complainant is not available. You're free to go. And brothers and sisters, that's how we won the farm back. That's how we got the farm back. That's a figure of speech. There was no farm in the books. I'm just simply saying that's how we overcame. So my point is this: when you hear that Nakachinda went to court not too long ago, and he failed to take fresh plea in his sedition case, and they say that Makebi Zulu was undisposed. Undisposed simply means Makebi didn't show up. So we're going to keep an eye on that case, see how that goes. Let's talk about Harry Kalaba. As many of you know, Harry Kalaba has left UKA. And when you look at the tail of the tape, you know that phrase, tail of the tape? Tell me in the comments. When you look at the tail of the tape, when you look at the men and women that are standing in the positions of opposition and the front runners of UKA, you look at these chaps. They are lightweights. These are chaps that have one man parties. It's a conglomeration of. It's like a bunch of kids coming together and saying, you know what? Let's go to the finals. Let's go to the football finals and play in the Bundesliga. What do you know? If you look at the tail of the tape, if you look at the people that are involved in UKA, these are not heavyweights. What is a heavyweight? A heavyweight is someone who brings to the table a substantial girth. Girth, you know the word girth? Substantial bulk of party resilience. Alikuwa tama MPs, alikuwa tama ward chairman, alikuwa tama councillors. The presidential candidate of that party is well known. Not these UKA chaps. UKA chaps are completely unknown. They are ghosts. They are apparitions. They wallow in the abyss of political purgatory. These chaps. So when you say that Kalaba has left UKA, what is UKA? Who's there? They are non-entities. As we say in Zambia, they are not factors. You are not you're a Zambian politician when you use that phrase. You are not a factor. These are not factors. So Harry Kalaba leaving UKA is the same as rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. Honey, it doesn't matter where you put the chairs. That ship is still going to sink. Bubbler, bubbler, bubbler. Anyway, so Harry, he left UKA and said that, well, there's lack of leadership there. Me and Asambamo. I can't be found with these non-entities. There's no leadership quality here. Well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Harry, not only were you hounded out of the party you were in before, tell me in the comments. This is the thing about these guys. They hop and jump from so many different places that you lose track of who they are and what they are and what position they hold. Because so you get confused. It's too, I can't keep up. It's too much. I forget. So tell me in the comments below. The last grouping, the last party that Harry Calabar was heading. What was it called? Was it the DA? I forget. Was it DF? Whatever the hell it was. He left that. He started Citizens First. In Citizens First, there's a young PF politician by the name of, what's his name? Big brother. What was his name? Maxwell. Maxwell Chongona Alino Aletfiero had to alam for me mu Citizens First. So Harry's got bigger fish to fry when it comes to internal wrangles within his political party. Not only does Harry Calabar have a huge challenge in trying to hold himself together, he's got the challenge of being where he is for any length of time, because at any moment he could be hounded out. So it amuses me when I hear Savoy Chatel say, no, Harry left because of a lack of leadership. Really? That's like the pot calling the kettle black. All righty. Makebi Zulu says that HH wants to snoop on opposers. Misleading information. That's not true. You see, these cyber laws are the same laws. Well, sorry, let me qualify that. The concept of a cybersecurity framework is not different from what Balungu was pursuing at the time. Do you understand that? This country, and any country, doesn't matter where you go, America, UK, Brazil, every country has its own form. It's got its own version of cybersecurity. Without cyber laws, it's a mess. It's chaos. So it is disingenuous for Makebi Zulu to suggest or to imply Kuti HH is the only reason for signing this law, for signing this act, this bill into law, is to snoop, is to intercept communication between Freddie Membe and Savoy. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. A digital framework is necessary in this country. It goes beyond your misinterpretation. And you as a lawyer, Makebi Zulu, you as a learned man should feel utterly ashamed of yourself for misleading your audience and the public by saying, HH signed this because he wants to snoop on his opposers. You are oversimplifying it for political expedience. You are oversimplifying it to mislead those Dwanzi Zambians out there who believe that sort of nonsense. There's nothing in the act that even remotely suggests that. Nothing. Not a line, not one jot, not one tittle suggests that. What is there is a framework that protects citizens from online abuse. That's what's there. That's what's there. Not what you are peddling. Kuti, no, wafuna kuchita intercept phone call between Savoy and the Harry Calabar. You say such things because you know that is the type of base language the average Zambian will understand. You know that if you go into the intricate details of explaining this act in the manner it is supposed to be explained, you know that the Zambian people are not going to grasp it. But you pray, P-R-E-Y, you prey on the ignorance of the majority of Zambians by saying things like, no, but if I intercepting that is nonsense. Read the act for yourself. It's there in black and white. All right. Muhabi Lungu. You guys know Muhabi Lungu. Muhabi Lungu he comes from political pedigree. You know, he's a product of the UNIP era. I think his father was the third Speaker of the National Assembly. Correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember that that his father was the third Speaker of the National. So, you know, my point is he comes from political pedigree. But some of the things that Mohabi Lungu is saying are just completely total nonsense. He says, no, HH is too stubborn to withdraw the cyber laws. And he says, no, these are draconian laws. Guys, let's not use words, number one, that you don't understand. Number two, that are misapplied. A draconian law is a law that is so severe that the punishment is beyond description. You know, it's like saying, you know, if you cough on the street, I'll chop your head off. That's a draconian law. Okay? The word draconian comes from the name Draco. He was an Athenian lawmaker back in the 7th century or something like that. So when I hear these Zambian politicians using words like draconian, when they don't even know what the word means, it is a misapplied word. No one has draconian laws in this country because we have laws that protect citizens. You and I. It's like saying when you are found guilty of murder and the court sentences you to death by hanging, then you say, no, that's a draconian law. How is it a draconian law? It's a law, and it's there. If you don't like the law, change it. Change it. But don't start saying, no, this is cyber law. It's draconian. You sound idiotic. Basically, you sound idiotic. And you are misleading the people that are sitting at your feet. You jokers. Okay. I gotta go. What time is it? Oh, it's 10 after 1. It's lunchtime. I'm starving. I need to go to, you know where I'd like to go have lunch? Have you guys heard of Tuapandula? Tuapandula is off Lubu Road. Oh my, OMG. They make, I mean, everything they make there is fantastic. But they make the best trotters on the planet. They cook the, you know my trotters? You know, pork trotter. Ooh, make a tadpole slap a whale, honey. Woo! Make a Baptist do the Holy Ghost moonwalk. Woo! Make a Presbyterian do the running man. All right, I gotta go. Nice watching. Bye.